being here.
We're both feeling a bit sorry for ourselves and tired.
Whoa. Just tired.
We both had a fun weekend.
You know when people are like,
nights.
are you hungover? And you're like, I'm just tired. They're like,
When you're that tired, you do feel hungover. Anyway, we've got a really interesting, fun episode for you guys today. We're going to be doing a sex education episode. Not really as much education, a bit of fun. Kind of have a lot to talk about. I feel like in general, sex is quite a personal thing to talk about.
Very
I did have
specifically,
to,
not just
pre-warn my boyfriend. Where I was like, by the way, I'm doing a sex education episode. I'm sorry, but if you're our family or you know us in a professional capacity, this probably isn't the episode you want to listen to.
No, and I realised that in the last
sex.
episode where I was talking about farting.
It's like, if someone from my work is listening to this episode, I would suggest maybe choosing one of the other ones.
Well, everyone farts and everyone has sex.
That is true.
We're just talking, we're breaking down these taboos.
We are, yeah. I mean, it depends who you are and depends what you're comfortable talking about, but a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about sex. I, for one, am not one of those people. It's fine. Everyone has had sex. Everyone calm down. It's like a fun topic to talk about. I love talking about sex. I think it's great. So let's talk about it on a podcast. Are you okay?
I'm looking at some
You're looking at some men?
Some source material for today. Infographics, actually.
Oh, so shall I kick it off? The reason I wanted to talk about this in the first place, one of them was obviously the bold type, which I referenced in our last episode, which I was telling you about.
It triggered you.
One of the story arcs was that the main character, Jane, had never had an orgasm and had to write an article about orgasms. So
how embarrassing
for her. She set on this journey to have an orgasm so that she could write the article.
The
and
journey.
It was so unrealistic the journey. It was so unrealistic how it happened because it was like the first person she chose to have sex with and the first time she magically orgasmed and just through having sex through nothing else.
Wow.
And it was like, that's so unrealistic, but that's what we see all the time in movies and TV. The guy will just stick it in and the girl will have an orgasm.
That's always what happens. There's sex scenes in like films and TV that you watch when you're younger that you see, that you're so aware of it. And there's that kind of, one little scene that always happens when the girl and the guy, or whoever, mostly girl and a guy, will like slam their heads down on the pillow and they'll both be like out of breath and they'll both be like done at the exact same time. And something about that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, they both look equally happy and satisfied. And you just think like, really?
Yeah, it's just, that's what I mean. It's just so unrealistic. Porn is probably the same. The girl will just come from the guy sticking it in.
Well, porn's much worse because although in TV and films it's implied, whereas porn, you see exactly what's going on. You see more by watching porn than what you see when you're having sex yourself. Like, you can't see everything when you're having sex. There's different angles, you got the lighting, you see too much to wrap your head around the reality of it. The implications from porn are much more dangerous. Not only just girls orgasming, which is really the only thing we're talking about, but the way people look, the way people act, the way people sound.
They don't learn what you think you want to know
and I think
sex through porn.
It's building your expectations,
especially for guys. I think
they'll expect more for guys. I think
look like a certain way, sound like a certain way,
make all the same noises that she can make.
Exactly.
And it explains a lot, really. It's almost as unrealistic as all little girls basing their romantic relationship on Disney films that they say.
Oh my god, yeah, very good analogy.
Just because you see it on a screen doesn't make it real, even if it looks very, very real.
They're still actors at the end of the day. That's their job.
Yeah. Remember when we were watching Would You Rather?
Yeah.
And Ed and Sam kept looking at each other.
Oh my god,
and they were like, what's she from? Ed was like, I really recognise her.
We had no idea, we'd never seen her before.
And then Sam looked up and he was like,
I think she's a porn.
He was like, yeah, I know where she's from. And I went, she's a porn star, isn't she?
Anyway, going back to like why we're doing this episode. Also, another thing was an interesting conversation I had with a friend recently about an app called Killing Kittens. I'm going to read the article about it.
I love that name, by the way.
Really good way. But it was basically like women setting it up for women. Killing Kittens, the social brand famed for its sex parties originally.
And then they've expanded on it.
Yeah, so it's now grown into a community of 180,000 members.
Wow.
Frustrated by the status quo, it's unveiling its new ad-supported media platform, mostly Instagram, I think. So it's becoming very like commercialised, like very open.
Yeah, good.
It's
Like,
getting
just
like normal
sex,
brands to back them. Exactly. So it's just normalising it based on women's pleasure. So it was all about like creating a safe space for women to like explore female pleasure. Whereas before it's been like suppressed.
Would you class this as a dating app? Really?
So
Really?
my friend that was telling me about it, we got onto the conversation about it because she had told me that she had a foursome, and it was through the app that she'd had one. Yeah, it's essentially like a dating app, like Tinder but for couples, and they do like seminars around like bondage, sex parties, threesomes, foursomes,
so having the knowledge and the
orgies,
safety to
so it'll provide that education, the background, so that like the couples can have that safe space to talk about it.
That's honestly so clever. Like ultimately, as long as you know what you're doing and you're being safe, the consent is there, and all those elements add up to better sex. Obviously, like communication, and the more and more you talk about this app, the more it makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So the woman that created it, Emma Sale, it was originally glamorous, elusive parties. And it said her goal is to create a safe space for a community where women could explore their sexuality. The offline came first when in 2005 she began hosting masked ticketed parties in London where female attendees made the first move and nothing was off limits.
And then
I think from the
like
sex parties it obviously grew more. Yeah.
Well,
me and my friend had this conversation about her having threesomes
with her boyfriend,
which is interesting, which I think we should definitely talk about. Like, who do you have it with? Like, is it in a relationship, out of a relationship, etc. It's funny because she said that she was the same as me, that she thought she would never be able to have one. She doesn't look at sex like that, and that's exactly what I was saying. I was like, I'm too not possessive.
It's too much of a personal thing.
Yeah, it's like what you and the other person.
Yeah, of course, I get it.
Thinking of my boyfriend doing other things with other people, like I'm not comfortable with that. That to me, that's not a turn on, especially at the very start. Like you wouldn't see it with anyone else other than the person you're with. Like you said, it probably does depend on how long you've been in that relationship for. As time goes on and you become more comfortable with that partner, try out different things, maybe you do then get to that point where, and it's a trust thing as well, you trust that partner enough to like bring other people into it. That's the biggest
thing. Because I know couples that have tried this unsuccessfully. It doesn't work, and that's what they go in thinking this will be so hot, this will be a turn on for both of us, both going to enjoy it, and it doesn't work out for this exact reason. They should have been on an app like this. I think either one of them or both of them would just go on Tinder and put pictures of both of them on the account and be like,
it's not the best
we want someone to join us. Even then, you think you're going into it in a safe and a mature way. You're actually not. It could be so damaging further down the line.
Imagine yourself in that situation, just thinking about what would happen, the dynamic of it. If anything in there doesn't make you feel comfortable, you shouldn't be having one.
Also, a big part of it is the initial thing to picture the person who you're with. If you think about someone else, your brain is automatically gonna say that's negative because that would be a bad thing.
Exactly, yeah. It's almost like cheating.
That's just because that's automatically what you would think.
Yeah, like how your brain is wired to think. Maybe the people that are comfortable having threesomes, foursomes, orgies, whatever, have almost got to that mindset where they've separated the personal intimacy of it with just pleasure. They're not looking at their partner getting with someone else and seeing that as like them being personally intimate with another person.
Of course, like
so they had to like separate the two
and
things.
I'm sure that you would have like boundaries set for the other people that are joining you as well. It's not like there's just sex and then your intimate part of your relationship. There's also, you have different types of sex. Say you've only got one sexual partner, you still have different types of sex.
Oh my god,
with them. Sometimes you would have really intimate, and sometimes it'd be like exactly. So also, you never know what's going on in other people's relationships. You never know what their dynamic is.
Exactly.
I completely respect other people's decisions to do that. You can never judge anyone else's like sexual relationship, and I think that's great to be with someone, have a partner who feels the same way as well.
Yeah, completely. Imagine having like a guy who's I want to have a threesome, you're like absolutely not. That would
or even the other way around.
Things that could potentially ruin a relationship.
100%. Do you have any more about this app?
Killing Kittens.
Oh yes.
Oh my god! So I followed them on Instagram, obviously to.
Did you get loads of followers?
No, I got a DM from a guy going, have you ever been to a Killing Kittens party? And I'm like, how have you found me just through their follow list? Have you like gone through all the follow list looking at all the women?
I'm just following them for research actually.
Yeah, literally. I'm doing a podcast, you want to listen? Send them the link. So then came the international expansion after they've started the whole London sex parties thing.
Ooh.
The rollout of new events and the expansion of Sale's team. But always on her roadmap was the creation of a digital space, a social network where kittens and Toms, which are the men in the community, could chat online in an ecosystem that was sexually liberated but distinctly removed from the world of porn, which I think is
very important. It's all about the realism of it and the safety of it as well, I think. Anything is better when you've got more knowledge behind it. Like going somewhere, you know, like an old town or a city or somewhere you've never been to, like you know a bit more about it, instantly makes it better. If you have a bit of history behind somewhere you go.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know what you mean. It's like when they give you the wine and they tell you a bit more about it and it tastes better. Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
I love it when they do that, when they tell you loads about
knowledge is power.
It's like I'm getting inside wine knowledge. Wino. The company kept growing through the oldest marketing platform there is, the word of mouth, so just people were just talking about it. Two things then happened. The Me Too movement boosted the requirement for female empowerment in the sexual discourse, and Google and Apple relented. Killing Kittens was finally allowed to advertise its platform in their respective app stores. So the app is a hybrid of Facebook, Bumble and Eventbrite. Members of the community can meet through icebreaker questions, send messages, arrange dates and even purchase tickets to the next KK party.
I think it's also highlights the importance of the safety behind it. Any of these dating apps, you've got their name and their info and the pictures. You're going on a date with someone from dating apps, you tell your friends and they know about them. There's that kind of insurance of it there, rather than just like meeting somewhere with someone you meet on a night out and not even know their full name or anything about them.
And leading on from that as well, it's like you have the assurance that you know what everyone's intentions are. Like say for example you're on Tinder and you're only on Tinder because you want sex. At least if you're on this app, you know what everyone's intentions are. Because sometimes it's quite hard to set out on Tinder, like
surely
what the purpose is, like why you're on there.
Tinder is Mr. Trick not being specific enough. They should have like a traffic light system of what you're searching for.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you only see
heard
the
it here
people.
first.
Wouldn't that make so much more sense?
Our own dating app.
Right, are we going to get into the gap?
Yeah.
So give me like a definition what the orgasm gap is.
Yeah. So basically, I showed you that video last week, didn't I? Which if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. Sex therapist Emily Morse gave such a good description for what the orgasm gap is, the frustration I think a lot of women
We'll post
feel
it again,
about
like when we...
Yeah, of course. Specifically hetero relationships. She says that only 20% of women can orgasm with penetration and 86% of men orgasm every time with sex compared to only 62% of women. That's the women that are claiming. And that's so shocking to us only because everything we see in movies and TV is just that he sticks it in and the girl orgasms. And she encourages women to break the patriarchal system in which we are raised in and see on TV and the movies, etc. and take the time to get to know your body and what works for you, as you are responsible for your own orgasm. It's not about anyone giving you it. It's not about them figuring out your body on their own.
Ultimately, the reason for this and this gap is it's just easier for guys to come. It's just easier.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, guys take 6 to 10 minutes, whereas women will take 20 to 40.
Men define good sex as actually having an orgasm, but I think women...
That's so interesting.
Women would define it more as like, it wasn't awkward, it wasn't painful, like it was nice. It didn't not feel bad.
When she says about that you're responsible for your orgasm, it's not about anyone giving you an orgasm. It's not about them figuring out your body. I was going to say it's a mixture of that and you telling them what you like. Men aren't mind readers. You're the one that has to figure out your body and then teach the man. Because every female's body is different. What makes one woman orgasm is not going to make another woman orgasm.
Yeah, like it's kind of true of guys, but it is a lot more complicated with girls, I think.
Oh my god, yeah. I think so. That is the whole point of the orgasm
anatomy
gap, is that it's harder for women.
The vagina and like the differences between every individual person's vagina is probably more different than like penises.
Oh my god, completely, yeah. It's just so much more complex. Like the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings, whereas the penis only has 4.
4,000 or 4?
4,000. It's going to be more complex. Anyway, she says, this is kind of funny, but obviously it's an analogy, so don't think of it literally. If you put 100 women in a room that were masturbating, they'd all be doing something completely different. So if you think about it, the man who has had all these sexual partners before, maybe, whoever he's having sex with, it's going to be different from his previous partner. So it's like you can't be doing the same thing and expect her to get there the same way that the last one did. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's not always the case of leaving it up to the guy, because...
Oh my god, no, of course.
It's typically the guy is doing all the work. If the guy's on top or in control, let's say, it's so horrible, I don't want to say this, but they're essentially using you to masturbate. Girls have to do the same thing as well. If you're on top or you're in control, then don't worry about him. He's there to help you have an orgasm.
Yeah.
But he doesn't always have to do it. Sometimes you don't have to do anything.
As in, he doesn't have to do anything to get you there.
No, in the exact same sense that
yeah, of course.
the girl doesn't have to do anything
to get him there.
Not always. This isn't always the case, but I'm just saying, like, the way you were wording it is thinking that maybe girls expect a guy to know how to give them an orgasm every time, which isn't always the case.
Oh my god, no, that's exactly what
because
I'm
it's like
saying.
a passive thing.
No, girls can't rely on the guy. They need to help him help you get there. Do you know what I mean? But this is what you were just saying. Right, so only 20% of women can orgasm through penetration alone.
I'm not shocked by that at all.
No, of course not. But guys are, that's the thing, because all we are taught, especially from them watching porn and stuff like that, all they can see is like the guy sticking it in and out and the girl's orgasming. It's like
it's
no
the media expectation. The thing is with porn now, the reason comparatively straight girls would watch lesbian porn a lot more than guys would watch gay guy porn is because you want to see people having real pleasure. It's a lot more realistic. Even if they're acting, even if they're not really getting there, it's a lot more realistic to see two girls than a girl and a guy that...
I also think that's because both of the women
know this idea.
Are experiencing the same pleasure. If it's a guy and a girl, they're not experiencing the same. Whereas the girl, she knows what that feels like, so she knows what's going to work.
That's also this unconscious idea that lesbians are having more orgasms than straight girls.
Did you?
Yeah, because they actually do. Only because maybe we've done the research, we've seen the statistics, the percentages now.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
You know where it all is.
It's like, imagine if you got in someone's car and you own the same car, so you know how to drive
yes,
it. Whereas if you got in someone's car when you've never driven that kind of car before, you're going to be like, oh, you can drive it, but it's not going to be as good or as smooth.
It's like getting in a car and then getting in an aeroplane. It's not the same.
It's a bit dangerous.
At all.
It's a bit risky. You might not land the plane, right? All these analogies.
Where's autopilot? Having bi friends who can themselves differentiate between the sexual experiences they've had with different boys and different girls. That's
got an insight.
They really see the difference. Like, it's not just about hearing the difference, it's not just about seeing the difference in porn. They know.
Yeah. So what have they said? That's really interesting.
Or do they have I've had friends, like more than one girl say this to me, that they thought they were asexual because they weren't enjoying sex with boys.
Well, surely they were just lesbian.
No. Just shit boys in bed. Not all boys, just certain boys have made them feel like, you're so bad, you're not turning me on at all, that maybe I don't enjoy sex at all. Imagine being with someone who your sexual chemistry is that bad, they make you feel like you shouldn't have any sexual chemistry.
Asexual. I've definitely had that experience before. I've been like, in the early days.
But then, that's before you know your own body.
This is what sex is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's before you know it yourself.
Yeah, that's before you've like...
It's literally like...
things.
You know what it's like? It's like watching a film in a foreign language without subtitles on. It's like, you don't know what's going on.
Oh my god.
So how are you going to enjoy it? All these analogies. And then you learn the language yourself and you can interpret it better. There's a lot more open gay relationships than straight relationships. You find like it's a lot more of an open thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the better the sex and the more you know way around yourself, the more open you're going to be with more than just one partner.
Yeah, because I think you start to see it less as personal intimacy and the possessiveness of it, and more just like what feels good.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's like distinguishing that, which is probably easier to do in a gay relationship.
Really breaking ground here.
Yeah. So Emily Morse says, the reality of great sex is to not give men all the power. It's to not expect them to know what they're doing at all times. Guys actually need to quit thinking that we're just going to orgasm in the time that they do from what they know about previous sexual relationships, as every woman and every body is different. I think in any relationship you need to have that conversation and be open about what feels good and what doesn't, and what you like and what's going to get you there, especially nearer the start when you're having sex in the beginning. Particularly for women, like Emily said, you're responsible for your own orgasm. Someone that's really interesting to follow on this subject on Instagram is Amber Driscoll, but she's just like very open about this kind of thing and about like female pleasure, and she did this partnership with Lilo, who is a sex toy brand.
Oh, I seen that. Didn't people freak out about Zoe Sugg promoting a vibrator?
Like
and it's like, she's 30.
Yeah, it's just because she's like, everyone knew her when they were younger and think she's
we've all grown up with her, that's the point.
Anyway, so she did this video where she went through all different vibrators and just spoke about the fact that in some relationships, obviously, a lot of guys will basically feel emasculated when women bring in sex toys into their relationship. And it's because some men, more immature than others, don't like the idea of them not being capable of giving a woman the orgasm.
But the problem with this, and the reason for that, to them to think, I should be the only one who should be able to make you come. That's probably what they think. So it's the insecurity of it, toxic masculinity.
But it's like once they actually understand that not all women orgasm through just penetration alone, they need something else. If you think about it, men are really shit at multitasking, let's face it. So say in sex, the guy's doing the penetration. Like, how realistically, how good is he going to be at multitasking at the same time as him doing the in and out? The girl can be doing the, get the vibrator out, so that you're both getting what you want out of it.
This is a whole other app.
Multitask.
This is a whole other app, and
But yeah, it's just so interesting how like some guys will feel emasculated, but then like other guys will love it, and it's because you being turned on is their turn on.
Yeah,
it's like to do with givers and takers. Like some guys are givers, some guys are takers.
So Amber did.
She did
a video.
I think it was a brand partnership with Lilo. It was basically just saying it shouldn't be taboo to talk amongst your female friends about sex toys, what works. She had a friend that had never had an orgasm, and she was like, well, do you not have a vibrator? And she was like, oh my god, no, of course, like I don't have a vibrator. Just through that conversation, she was like, but it's fine to have a vibrator. Like, to stop thinking that it should be shameful or you're not entitled.
Like, you're over 18, you can go buy one,
yeah,
it's okay.
You're, like Emily said, you're responsible for your own orgasm, get a fucking Lilo. Anyway,
no, that's good. And I think it's great that, like I said about the Zoella thing as well, it's like, she knew she'd have so much backlash from that because of the younger audience she may... I don't know that she would still have a young audience because she doesn't make
like we've all grown up with her.
Exactly.
We're all similar ages.
I think it's one thing being brave enough to talk, not brave enough, but like open enough to talk about this with anyone, like anyone you're close to.
But
it's another thing for them to post about it and like literally promote the brand as well, which is great. But like that's all part of the destigmatization and the breaking the taboo of it
and lessening this gap. I mean, that's why I think it's so great that these people with platforms talk about it.
What lessons one of us lessons all of us. Life's too short to fake it. It's funny you said about like you should be able to help your partner and discuss with them and tell them what you like, but you're not going to be able to do that unless you know what you like yourself.
Exactly.
On your own.
Yeah.
How are you ever going to know
what
to tell them feels good if you haven't tried it yourself?
And that is the key to great sex.
Masturbation.
Literally, that's what they said in the video. Yeah, just to reiterate, it is so great that these people with these platforms are talking about it.
Oh yeah, I love it. And they all put in all the posts like, I almost feel embarrassed doing this, but I shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't. No, exactly.
No, you shouldn't. And it is almost like you have to discard that little embarrassment that you might feel and see it as a bigger purpose. Like, it is literally to liberate women and teach them that this is okay, this shouldn't be shameful anymore, we should be able to talk about this like guys can. Isn't it ironic that women are so sexualized yet we can't
talk about sex less
or experience the pleasure for ourselves? Like all about the men's pleasure and like...
Let's not do this is not the male gaze episode. She's coming up. Right, let me just tell you this one.
She's waiting in the wings.
Oh my god, I've seen this other thing which is quite crazy. Millennials are having less sex than boomers or generations before us. That is because up until it was something ridiculous, like in the 80s, it was like legal to rape your wife. If you had a rape case but they were married, like you'd be thrown out. But of course people were having more sex because people weren't saying no. You couldn't say no, or they felt they couldn't. Now it's a lot more like, you should be in a comfortable relationship to say no if one of you wants sex and one of you doesn't. Like, that's fucking fine.
I also think that potentially along the same lines, but obviously not as aggressive as that, guys are more cautious and they are less likely to instigate if they're not getting the same vibe. Maybe guys assume that girls don't want it as much as they do, so they don't make the first move, they don't instigate for fear of coming on too strong. And I think especially at the moment when obviously like women are very vocal about men, especially like we did the whole podcast episode about sexual harassment, I think with that being a thing, maybe guys are more reluctant to instigate.
Well, but
just
hopefully
for
they
fear
just
of
respect
it being
harassment more than they did.
Maybe.
But I think this idea of 50 years ago, I have a wife, I can have sex whenever I want, like she's got to have sex whenever I want it.
If he wants it, he can have it because that's what you're there for.
If all you were was the housewife and the mother and the cooking, the cleaning, sex giver.
Grim.
Yeah, terrible. The more open and honest you are, and the more communication you have, and even if it's not someone you're with, like say you've got like a fuck buddy you strictly having a sexual relationship with, then that's probably all you are going to talk about. Like, you're not going to talk about anything else other than what you want with each other. That's why sometimes them relationships probably better sexually, because the whole relationship is focused on just sex, whereas boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, you've got so many other things to be worrying about that maybe perhaps got more serious or like pressing or like real life issues going on.
But I think that's why it's important to have these conversations earlier on in the relationship when there is much more important on sex.
You are going to be more comfortable the older you get.
Yeah,
perhaps
you've
the
learned
more experience.
Have more experience, yeah.
Yeah. Not just like sexual experience, but relationships as well. Ultimately, I do think communication's probably the number one, but also it's that just like respect for who you're with. If you're having sex with someone who doesn't care if you're having an orgasm, do they care about many other things? Like, do they care about how your day was? Do they care about how you feel after like a bad... Those kind of base level things can be really good indicators for other parts of what they're like, perhaps.
Oh yeah, completely.
And that's why, like, you know, when people are like saying they've caught feelings and stuff from just having sex, it's like, well, that's good. Surely if they're a good sexual partner, that means they're going to be a good match for you. That's ultimately why you would develop feelings for them.
Yeah, very true.
Like, isn't that the point?
I've got a funny article. These sex positions give you the best cardio workout. Should we go through them? We're going to learn a few things. We're going to learn some new positions.
The thing is, like, once you live together, being in bed is not the sexiest place to be together.
There's kitchen counters for that. There's tables.
Every single night, every single day, going to sleep and waking up is the most mundane thing. Like, lying next to each other in bed when you're so comfortable is not the sexiest thing anymore at all. That's why living together, you've got to find it literally in other places.
Yeah.
Which is great because you've got the whole flat. Yeah. Anyway, sofa, kitchen, bathroom, showers. You know, it's fun. Yeah, oh my god. Anyway.
It's the same as like when you go and stay in a hotel room, it's automatically sexier because you've never been in that bed before.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like something different. It's exciting.
Yeah. Sometimes some of the best sex is like when you have to be sneaky.
Oh
like,
my
why
god,
is being
100%.
sneaky so much sexier? Like when you have to be really quiet.
It is, and it's also like, it's the element of, are we going to get caught?
Yeah.
It's the spontaneity of it usually. People don't plan risky sex, you know what I mean? Like, otherwise it won't be risky. Like, it's going to be a spontaneous thing.
Yeah, and it's almost like the rush of it, like, not the rush of it, like, as in you have to rush it.
the rush
of it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, like, do it speedy, so that makes it, like, really horny. Back to sex positions.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Let's talk about this article. Any vigorous activity that makes you break a sweat count as cardio, which includes sex. So, let's go straight into the list. Crouching cowgirl. Think about holding a squat in the gym and pulsing in the gym for 30 minutes.
I can imagine
that's like rough on your legs.
There's nothing worse than when you're like, oh, my legs are aching.
Oh my god. So if you go to the gym.
Just imagine I'm in the gym.
And you've got DOMs, and then you're trying to have sex, and he's like, go on top. My legs are going to give out. Like, I actually can't hold my weight up.
This is a workout article, surely.
It was in the Metro.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, Tuesday. Oh, they've got like the different days of the week. Okay. It's reverse piggyback. What?
Yeah, so you're in the front. They're holding you in the front.
Reverse piggy.
Yeah, so
what's piggyback? Is that a sex position?
No, it's just piggyback.
Yeah, but like,
say
are you holding the guy? Is he holding you?
No. The reverse is that you're giving him a piggyback. No, Anna.
So is he carrying you?
Yes, you're just on the front instead of the back.
That's just he's just holding you up.
Yeah, but that's the word for it, I guess.
Oh,
reverse piggyback.
This involves strength and balance. You will definitely feel that you had a full body workout. Definitely want to try if you haven't made it to the gym that day. Ladies, support your man by working your inner thigh strength and wrapping your legs tightly around his waist.
Oh.
No, that was called reverse piggyback. That's standard. It's like against the wall, reverse piggyback, I guess.
Doesn't have to be.
No, maybe not, but
depends on the strength.
Standing splits. Is that like when he...
Is there a picture?
No, I wish there was.
This is Metro.
It will help... Oh, I'm just going to skip all the benefits. Ladies, you can test your flexibility here by lifting your leg over your man's shoulder. Oh, that's not what I thought it would be. I really thought it was going to be like you're doing like, you know, when you're like going down and you're like doing the splits and then he's like on top of you. Do you know what I mean?
Also doing the splits.
Yeah.
So your feet are touching.
Yeah. That's so funny. Or maybe like he's doing the splits on his back and you're just on top. Anyway, Thursday is Lotus. Lotus Biscoff.
I feel like I've heard that one before.
You're going to create a lot of heat in this position, so this is a good one to work on rhythm and getting in sync with your partner. Ladies, think of the inner... Ladies! Beyonce. Oh, they have pictures!
That's Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
Very intimate. Look at
me! It's not really working your... wouldn't really say that's a sexercise position. I'd say that's quite... Depends. Maybe for the guy, because he's like having to hold himself up at the same time.
No, it just depends on...
That'd be good for guys' abs. Basically, Lotus is when he's sat up and you're sat on him, and you're both basically sat up. Friday is shoulder stand. This one is good for the yogis. Shoulder stand.
Surely not.
It's just stopped saying what they are.
Bloody Metro.
Yeah, thanks Metro. You're giving us half
free
the bloody
paper.
article.
What do you expect?
This is just all too painful for me. I think I'm gonna skip reading the rest. Like, this is just giving me exercise vibes and this is my rest day, so we're just gonna find a better article. Oh, here we go. This is what your sex position bucket list should look like.
Pretzel dip. So you like pretzel knotted together, you like your legs.
You're like scissoring, but it's a guy.
Love that.
And he's like sat up a little bit. Pretzel dip is when you lie on your side and your partner kneels, straddling your right leg and curling your left leg around their left side. So
picture a pretzel,
a flashback,
but their legs.
Of the opening scene of The Bold Type is when they're like all looking at a piece of paper in an office and they're like, I don't think this is possible, and they're like, oh my god, no, it's definitely possible, and they're like, let's try it out, and then they all just get into this weird sex position.
They're doing it at the magazine.
Oh.
I didn't know this was called the flat iron.
When he's on top and you're like lying down.
Front facing missionary.
It's yeah.
That's like morning, like when I don't want to move. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but then he has to move and get on top and he's essentially planking. So is he really going to want to do that in the morning?
The Gee Whiz. Easy access. The Gee Whiz.
Is she on the side of the bed?
Lie back with your legs resting on each of your partner's shoulders. It's just legs on shoulders, basically.
That was called Gee Whiz.
We're going to post this article on the page.
Yeah, definitely.
I
hope you guys have learned something from this section. What?
This sex episode.
Sex episode. Sex education.
Sex
yeah.
Sex pod. Pod sex.
Anyway, if you want to contact us,
if you want to tell us to stop and wash our mouths out.
We've had fun recording this episode. Hope you've had fun listening.
The main points we need to take away from today is close the gap. To close the gap, we should
open the gap.
I'm pretty like
get to know your bodies. Get a vibrator. Buy a vibrator.
Communicate with yourself.
If you don't have a vibrator,
I would be disappointed in any of our listeners that don't own a vibrator.
Yeah, every girl should have a vibrator.
I literally, when I was like 18, I was like, I can buy one now. Like, I used to put it on and put it in my bed and put my duvet over my bed and like see if I could hear it in different.
Oh my god, yes! I think every girl has had that where they've like turned their vibrator on
and it always
gone outside the room. Anyway, buy a vibrator. Listen to
the only two things you need to do.
Follow our Instagram at The Female Shit Show. Tweet us if you want to tweet us at Female Shit Show.
YouTube is The Female Shit Show. There's a lot of fun stuff on there.
We're YouTubers now.
Love the vids.
If you want to email us at thefemaleshitshow@gmail.com.
Thanks
for listening.
Thanks for chatting shit with me. Thanks for the consensual cup of tea. Thanks for waiting until I got here to ask me if I wanted a tea.
That's okay.
Thanks for
I've
asking
learned my lesson.
Which type of tea? So not only is there consent in this relationship, there's open and honest communication.
And on that note,
and now we know what we like.
Go and listen to our sexual harassment episode so you make sure you're doing the right thing. Goodbye.
Goodbye.